Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily stock updates. So as per usual, today we will talk about NVIDIA. Let's figure out what is happening with the stock. If it can go any higher from here, is it time to correct? And I'll give you my personal thoughts and opinions regarding all of that. So as per usual, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. For $2.99, you can access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates on Tesla stock and just the market in general. But for $4.99, I also talk about NVIDIA with those members as well. So if you want NVIDIA specifically as well, then that is the $4.99 option. But you also get all the other stuff included, of course, as well. But all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, let's just jump into it. NVIDIA closing the day up with a nice respectable 1.4%, closing at pretty much $124.50 per share, which compared to the market is going to be definitely a little bit of an outperformance, right? A nice, powerful day for NVIDIA. Once again, just as if you think it can't go any higher, well, it goes higher, right? That's just kind of how it is sometimes. This is why I kept saying that, despite even this potential daily bearish candle, the stock just still looks too strong, man. It just looks too strong. The indicators are still just too damn strong, right? And it's clearly being shown today because not only are we closing higher than we closed yesterday, still showing strength, but all the indicators are still not showing any sign of weakness. It is what it is, right? I would love to say that it's going to cool off, guys. It's coming right back down. You can get ready to buy the dip. I don't know. It's not looking like it wants to just yet. I mean, there are some hints of it. I will talk about some hints of it, but on the daily chart at least, man, this thing looks like an absolute monster. Like, again, like I said, for like the past few days, ever since I started making these videos, I would not be shorting this thing. That's just, you are very much fighting the trend, and the trend is your friend in this case. So let's talk about it. NVIDIA, right? It broke above 120. What was that, yesterday? Came up all the way to this potential resistance level, broke back above it as well. And now it's entering a little bit of a resistance area somewhere around this kind of 124-ish range. But personally, honestly, at this rate, really wouldn't shock me if we come up to about 127 or like close-ish to 127, give or take a point, of course, right? Because that is going to be this trend line from the all-time highs to this pivot point that we had over here. Essentially connect the dots, and we have another trend line here, which actually coincides with another potential massive resistance area you can see on the left that acted as a resistance and support several times before. And that would be obviously right here, which coincides beautifully pretty much on Monday, if it happens as early as Monday, pretty much around 127. That would be another about 2% move. So almost the same as today, just slightly more than today roughly. But that would be kind of what is a possibility on Monday if that were to be the case. But NVIDIA, like I said, on the daily chart still looks good. Why? Well, because the MACD is still making higher highs, just absolutely zooming upwards. It's like it doesn't even want to look back, it feels like. So very bullish. Not something I would be looking to go against the trend anytime soon, I'll tell you that right now. RSI, no complaints here whatsoever, above 50. It looks pretty solid in my opinion. This is where we kind of start getting a little bit concerned, right? I mean, the RSI is starting to get into overbought territories, but it stayed in overbought. Let me put it this way. NVIDIA tends to be pretty damn good at staying in overbought for probably a lot longer than most people would expect. At least I would expect, right? For instance, all the way back here, right? If you look back to this situation on the daily chart, what was this? Right over here, right? It went into overbought territory pretty much as we entered $85 per share. And it pretty much stayed overbought all the way up to $140 per share. Actually, well, just before that, we can argue about 130, we'll say, dollars per share. So again, just because it's overbought, it doesn't mean, at least especially for an NVIDIA, that it has to start cooling off. But, the fact that we are starting to enter a few other key resistance points, like I said, this horizontal resistance around 127, this trend line from the all-time highs, also around 127, you put two and two together and you start getting a bit of a potential more bearish picture setting up as to, there is a damn good case to make for that level to be that area of potential rejection. Obviously, if we blast right through it, then, well, I'm sorry if you're short. That's not the position you want to be in. That's for sure. Even right now, you probably don't want to be in that position. But with that being said, BX Trender also making higher highs. So again, all the indicators on NVIDIA, despite technically being overbought on the stochastic, it shows no signs of slowing down. It still doesn't. I don't know when or if it will, but it still does not. So, it is what it is. Now, moving over to the 1 hour chart. Let's talk about the 1 hour chart. This is where things can get a little bit more concerning, I guess, for the bulls, and maybe the bears can start getting a little bit of ray of hope, right? it's also very overbought. But the difference is the fact that as we're continuing to move higher, we're actually starting to see weakening pressure, or weakening buying pressure, I should add, as we're moving higher. We're starting to see some divergences. Let's talk about that. So first and foremost, we have the MACD, right? The MACD here, you can see officially crossed bearish. That's not ideal on the 1 hour chart. It's extremely overbought. It's really damn high. After such a phenomenal rally, but it officially finally has crossed the bearish. Let's see if this is enough to finally start this potential downtrend for NVIDIA, despite potentially us having a little bit more room to the upside. Like I said, about 127, that is a possibility. But, you know, it's not a lot of reward for the amount of, in my opinion, risk you're technically putting on for the short term, at least for the short term. Right, so you have the MACD crossing bearish. You have the RSI, you can see very overbought, starting to set up some a little bit of, you know, divergences as we're continuing higher. The RSI is making lowers, right? So it's, you know, it's kind of the opposite now. So that's a bearish divergence. Stochastic on the 1 hour, right? Technically bearish crossover here, extremely overbought on the 1 hour. And then of course you have the BX trender as we're also pushing higher. The BX trender not only is making lower highs, but it started setting fresh lower lows as well with a red band. So again, the point I'm trying to make here is the fact that despite us continually pushing up like this, especially the last day or two, we're starting to see some divergences. We're starting to see some weakening buying pressure across these indicators. Now, obviously, granted, they could be completely wrong and NVIDIA could just rip to 500 for all we know. But again, it's all about statistics, right? So all about probability, and probability wise, at least for the short term, for the next potential few days, it does look like this thing is starting to finally slow down in pressure, at least on the 1 hour chart. Very big difference between the daily chart. The daily chart still looks phenomenal. The 1 hour chart could see a bit of a pullback. Again, if we start seeing a pullback, well, now we essentially take those resistance points that were resistance points and they're now supports, right? For instance, the first level to look back to, if we do get a pullback, will only be like 123. I think we'll go a bit lower than that personally if we do officially start this pullback. Personally, I'll be looking at least at 120. If not all the way down to about 117. That would be that kind of $3-ish point range I'd be looking at for NVIDIA to retrace it if it officially does start its cool off. If it gets worse than that, and if we start losing like 116 to 117, expect a cool off all the way down to about 110 to as low as maybe even closer to 105. Those would be the levels I'll be looking at for NVIDIA to come back to if it were to happen. So for instance, my quote unquote worst case scenario is about a 15% drawdown from here. Will it happen? Nobody knows. But if it were to happen, and if we were to get this cool off and this, you know, these indicators really start to coming into fruition and, you know, the weakness starts to set in, especially with the market starting to also get into some pretty, you know, pivotal moments on the charts. If there's a place to reject for the markets, it would be pretty much right around here. Also, similar idea with the markets, right? You're getting the exact same crossovers on the 1 hour chart, same weakening pressure on the 1 hour chart, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It looks very similar in terms of just we're going higher, but the indicators are signaling slower momentum coming in. So we'll see. Same thing even looks like that on Tesla. So they all look like a lot of these charts on the 1 hour right now, including Tesla, NVIDIA, SPY, QQ, they all look very similar because they've all just been on an absolute rampage, right? But they're all showing weakening pressure. So we'll see if that actually comes in. But personally, as of right now, I do expect the market to get a bit of a cool off. I don't think it'll be a big cool off. I think there's too many people still waiting to buy this dip. I think it'll be a quick little dip into a rip personally, but we'll see. But with that being said, again, the market and NVIDIA and even Tesla, they all do look a little bit overextended here, and they all could use a little bit of a correction, in my opinion, just a little bit to the downside. I don't think it'll be anything completely, you know, crazy. Again, my like little worst case scenario for NVIDIA is about a 15% drawdown. I don't even expect that. I honestly think NVIDIA coming back down to somewhere around here, which is like a 5%, which could happen in literally a day, is very realistic. And honestly, that could be all she wrote as well. So we'll take it step by step, day by day. Naturally, we'll have to, you know, no reason to rush into it. But ultimately, NVIDIA daily chart, TLDR, really, it looks phenomenal. Nothing I would short. 1 hour chart definitely looks like it could be starting to look for a top somewhere around this level, maybe as high as 127. But I can't imagine it going too much higher than that for now before at least some cool off. But that's kind of what I'm seeing, and that's kind of what I'm expecting. So all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I think NVIDIA had the most bearish flow today. It did about 30 million bearish flow as well. So also something to note on top of everything else. But yeah, all that being said and done, thanks for watching. I'll see you for the next one. Peace.